You will spend roughly 15,000 hours of your life inside a school building.
That is a lot of hours.
Right. It's massive. But what if, the most vital, life-altering skills you pick up during that time didn't actually happen while you were staring at a chalkboard?
Yeah, like what if they happen in those 15-minute margins between the bells?
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to decode what we're calling the unwritten syllabus of life.
The hidden curriculum.
Yes, the hidden curriculum. So we're looking at a piece of source material today titled The Growth and Purpose of the School Experience.
And it's essentially a transcript of a conversation between two students, Jetro and Leo.
Right, and on the surface, it reads like a completely standard casual chat, just two kids talking about what they do at recess, what clubs they're
Their
in.
favorite events of the year. Yeah.
Exactly. But the moment you look at the mechanics behind what they are actually saying, it turns into this incredibly sharp analysis of how human beings learn to function in a society.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because they are dissecting things that sociologists spend decades studying, and they're just doing it casually.
Okay, let's unpack this, because usually we think of education like a factory assembly line. You sit in a row, teacher downloads math and history into your brain, you take a test, and you move on.
The industrial model.
Right. But school is actually more like a dual operating system. You have the foreground applications running like the official syllabus of textbooks and exams.
Okay, sure.
But running in the background constantly is this massive unwritten operating system of socializing, navigating hierarchies, and, just survival skills.
The background processes, yeah. And what makes this transcript so valuable is that Jetro and Leo, without even realizing the academic terminology for it, are dissecting exactly how that hidden curriculum operates.
They really are.
We see it immediately, actually, in how they describe their break times.
Yeah, the conversation opens with Leo asking Jetro how he spends his time when he isn't studying. And Jetro's approach is entirely unstructured. He says he plays football with his classmates and chats with his friends. It's just physical release and social bonding.
Whereas Leo, on the other hand, opts for something highly structured.
Right, he spends his breaks reading in the library or going to the English speaking club.
And notice the spatial shift happening here. Because the classroom is a rigid grid. You sit where you are told, you speak when you are called on.
You literally have to raise your hand to talk.
Exactly. But the moment the bell rings for break time, that grid just dissolves into a fluid network.
A micro-society.
Yes, Jetro and Leo are actively building their own micro-societies. Jetro seeks out kinesthetic interaction, while Leo is carving out this specialized niche to explore an intellectual interest completely on his own terms.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because Leo describes what actually happens in this English-speaking club.
Oh, this is fascinating, yeah.
They meet every Thursday afternoon, but he explicitly states they aren't doing grammar worksheets. He says, the quote is, "We play games, watch short clips, and talk about different topics."
Right.
Now, as a result, Leo claims this helps him feel more confident speaking. And Jetro even points out that Leo's English is exceptionally good.
It is working for him.
But is he actually learning a language by watching video clips and playing games, or is he just finding a clever way to goof off on a Thursday afternoon and, calling it studying?
Well, it sounds like goofing off if we judge it by the metrics of a standard classroom. But mechanically, Leo is tapping into one of the most powerful states for skill acquisition.
Okay, how so?
It comes down to cognitive load, and something linguists call the affective filter.
The affective filter. Okay, break that down for us.
Well, in a traditional classroom, if you try to speak a new language and use the wrong verb tense, there is a perceived penalty, right?
Right, you might get a bad grade, or the teacher corrects you in front of 30 of your peers.
Exactly. And that fear creates anxiety. And anxiety physically blocks the brain's ability to encode and retrieve language.
So the stakes are so high that your brain is spending like half its energy just trying not to be embarrassed?
Precisely. You are stuck in defense mode. But when Leo goes to his club, the stakes vanish.
Right, because there's no test.
Exactly. The goal is no longer to pass a test. The goal is to win a game or laugh at a short clip. The language becomes a transparent tool for connection, rather than this object of stressful study.
Wow, okay.
By removing the fear of failure, the affective filter lowers. The brain's cognitive bandwidth is entirely freed up. Confidence is the actual primary skill being built in that room. The English proficiency is simply a highly beneficial byproduct.
That makes perfect sense mechanically. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You don't learn balance by sitting in a chair reading a physics manual about gyroscopic forces.
No, of course not.
You learn by getting on the bike on a soft patch of grass where falling doesn't hurt. The club is the soft patch of grass.
That's a great analogy. And Jetro observes this result and intuitively understands the mechanism.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't say he wants to study more English textbooks to catch up to Leo. Jetro's immediate reaction is to say, I should join a club too.
Right, he mentions chess or science.
But his reasoning has nothing to do with learning how a rook moves or how a cell divides. He says he wants to join because it is better than sitting in a classroom all day, and he wants to meet people from other classes.
So he is using the club as a networking tool.
He is initiating cross-pollination. If you think about the structure of a middle school or high school, you're typically grouped by age and proximity.
Yeah, you're with the same 30 kids all day.
It is an artificial echo chamber. You only interact with a specific demographic assigned to you. But by joining a specialized club, Jetro is realizing he can break out of that assigned demographic.
He's learning how to infiltrate new social circles based on shared interests, rather than just, geographical seating charts.
Exactly.
Which takes us to a critical pivot in the source material. If these clubs and break times are so incredibly effective at building confidence and expanding social networks, it starts to cast a shadow on the main event.
It does make you wonder.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the actual point of the standard classroom is. And Leo dives right into this. He zooms out and asks Jetro the massive existential question. He says, let's talk about the bigger picture. Why do you think school is important for us?
And the contrast in their answers here perfectly illustrates the two competing philosophies of modern education.
Okay, lay them out for us.
Well, Jetro gives the classic transactional answer. He argues that school is important to gain knowledge, improve abilities, and prepare for future careers.
So getting a good job.
Right. He views the institution as an industrial input-output machine. You deposit hours of study, you extract raw data, and society eventually exchanges that data for a paycheck.
The ultimate utilitarian view. You learn math so you can become an accountant.
Exactly.
But Leo pushes back against this input-output model, and his counter-argument is fascinating because he champions the hidden curriculum we've been talking about.
Yes, the sociological view.
Right. Leo says school is not just about books. It also teaches us discipline, teamwork, and responsibility. He specifically points out learning how to follow rules, respect time, and here's the kicker, work nicely with others on group projects.
That phrase, work nicely with others on group projects, is the Rosetta Stone of this entire transcript.
Really? Why is that?
Because Jetro is advocating for building the worker. Leo is advocating for building the character of the human being who has to exist alongside other workers.
I want to pause on the group project specifically, because if you are listening to this right now, just hearing the phrase group project probably triggers like a very specific lingering dread from your own school days.
Oh, absolutely. It is the universal stressor.
Right. But think about your adult life. Think about the last time you were thrown into a cross-departmental committee at work or asked to launch a product with someone who didn't pull their weight. What you were experiencing was just the adult corporate version of the middle school group project.
The mechanics are identical. In a school group project, the academic deliverable like a poster board on the solar system or a history presentation is largely irrelevant.
No one cares about the poster board.
No one cares. The true lesson is conflict resolution under the pressure of forced interdependence.
Forced interdependence. I love that term.
You are forced to navigate differing levels of ambition. You have to figure out how to divide labor equitably. You have to learn the delicate art of holding a peer accountable without destroying the working relationship.
It is project management and office politics functioning at a microscopic scale. You are learning that you cannot succeed purely on your own individual brilliance, right? Your success is fundamentally tethered to the flawed output of the people around you.
And that realization bridges the gap between Leo and Jetro's arguments. Following rules and respecting time aren't just arbitrary academic hoops to jump through. They are the foundational social contracts that keep any organization, any company, and any community from collapsing into chaos.
And what is genuinely impressive about this dialogue is that Jetro doesn't dig his heels in.
No, he really listens.
He listens to Leo's point about teamwork and discipline, and he immediately synthesizes it with his own career-focused worldview. Jetro replies, exactly. It helps us learn how to talk and interact with different people every day. It builds our social skills for the real world, which is very useful for our future.
Jetro recognizes the flaw in separating hard skills from soft skills.
Yeah.
In the adult world, The technical knowledge, the ability to code or balance a ledger or write a legal brief,
Right.
might get you the job interview.
Right.
But the soft skills, the ability to navigate a group project without alienating your colleagues, are what actually allow you to keep the job and get promoted. Social skills are career skills.
So if we follow their logic to its natural conclusion, we have to completely reevaluate the school calendar.
How so?
Well, if the ultimate purpose of this 15,000-hour experience is actually to build this social foundation, to master forced interdependence and navigate the hidden curriculum, then the most important day of the year isn't the final exam.
No, definitely not. The final exam only tests the foreground applications. It only measures individual data retention.
Exactly. To test the background operating system, you need an event that measures collective cohesion. And that brings us to the third and final section of their conversation.
The peak experience.
Right. Leo asks Jetro what his absolute favorite school event is. Jetro doesn't even hesitate. He names the shared community climax of the year, Sports Day.
And the shift in tone here is really critical. They move from a philosophical debate about career preparation into this vivid sensory recall.
Yeah, Jetro describes the scene, but not by talking about the athletic competition itself. He talks about the environment.
He notes that everyone is outside, wearing colorful shirts, cheering, and playing games. He describes this pervasive energy and excitement.
Leo jumps in with a similar summary, too. He highlights the running race, but again, not because he cares about who clocked the fastest time. Leo says his favorite part is because everyone shouts and supports their teams so loud. It feels like a big festival.
The word festival carries significant sociological weight here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. A festival is a liminal space. It is a temporary suspension of the normal societal rules.
Okay, explain that.
Well, on a standard Tuesday, the school hierarchy is rigid. Teachers command, students obey. The popular kids sit here, the quiet kids sit there. But on sports day, when everyone puts on a colored team shirt, those normal hierarchies are temporarily flattened.
You are no longer defined by your math grade.
Exactly. You are defined by your membership in the blue team or the red team.
But let me ask you this, regarding how memory works. Because Jetro and Leo will probably spend 100 hours that year studying geometry, and maybe 4 hours participating in sports day.
Sure.
Yet, years later, the geometry formulas will completely fade, while the visual of the colorful shirts and the auditory memory of the loud shouting remain completely intact. Why do those specific, chaotic sensory details completely overwrite thousands of hours of academic instruction?
It comes down to the difference between semantic memory and episodic memory.
Okay, what's the difference?
Semantic memory is the retention of facts and concepts, like knowing the capital of France or the Pythagorean theorem.
Right, the stuff you drill with flashcards.
Exactly. It takes enormous repetitive effort to encode semantic memory, and without constant use, it decays rapidly. Episodic memory, however, is the recollection of specific events, situations, and experiences.
And episodic memory is tied to emotion, isn't it?
Highly tied to it. When you experience shared psychological arousal, like the suspense of watching a close running race, surrounded by hundreds of your peers screaming in unison, your amygdala signals to your hippocampus that this moment is significant.
Wow.
It literally burns the sensory details into your long-term memory with far less effort than studying a textbook.
So sports day acts as a kind of stress test for the school's social infrastructure. It is the one day where the invisible web of teamwork, communication, and community spirit they have been practicing in those low-stakes clubs and dreaded group projects is forced to hold up under the pressure of public display.
That's beautifully put. And Jetro explicitly draws that conclusion. He weighs the two sides of the school experience against each other.
What does he say?
He states, days like that show us that school is definitely about more than just exams, homework, and textbooks. He recognizes that the emotional resonance of the festival is what actually cements the feeling of belonging.
He follows that up with a line that really anchors the whole piece. He says the true value is growing up together and sharing good memories that we will remember forever.
Growing up together. By using that phrase, Jetro is acknowledging that education is not an individual race. It is a collective journey.
Yeah.
When they're watching that running race, the value isn't in the runner crossing the finish line. The value is in the collective act of witnessing and supporting. It is the community affirming its own existence.
And Leo gets the final word in the transcript, wrapping up their entire philosophy. He says that these shared experiences, these non-academic moments, really shape who we are today and prepare us for the journey ahead.
It is a remarkable synthesis, honestly. We began with two students talking about playing football at recess and watching video clips on a Thursday afternoon.
Just casual chat.
Right. But step by step, they deconstructed the architecture of human development. They proved that the official track, the exams and the textbooks, provides the raw material. But it is the unwritten track, the clubs, the group projects, the shared joy of a festival, that actually shapes the material into a functioning adult.
And for you listening right now, the relevance of this doesn't stop just because you no longer hear a school bell ring. Whether you are navigating a complex corporate matrix, trying to manage a neighborhood association, or just collaborating with other human beings in any capacity, this dynamic is still playing out every single day.
The context matures, but the mechanisms remain exactly the same. The English-speaking club just morphs into your industry networking event.
Oh, totally.
The low-stakes environment is where you still go to test new ideas without fear of immediate penalty, and the ability to balance the transactional requirements of your job with the transformational needs of your team, that is a lifelong pursuit.
You still have to figure out how to work nicely with others on the project. You still have to cross-pollinate outside your department. The textbooks might get you in the door, but it is your mastery of the hidden curriculum that dictates how far you will actually go once you are inside.
And occasionally you still need the equivalent of a sports day.
Yes.
You need those moments of shared, colorful enthusiasm to remind the team why they are enduring the difficult work in the first place.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on as we wrap up today's deep dive. We've seen how Leo and Jetro meticulously prove that their most defining memories and their most essential life skills, confidence, conflict resolution, the ability to connect off, all stem from the spaces outside the traditional classroom structure.
Right. They happen during recess or in the margins of a club meeting.
Or amid the loud shouting of a communal race. So it makes you wonder, if the most vital parts of our development happen in the spaces where the syllabus stops, how much of your own most important personal growth is currently being held back because you are spending too much time following the official rules?